Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In our channel we cover the gross anatomy lectures, histology, embryology, anatomy quiz, anatomy practical exam preparation, radiological anatomy, surgical anatomy, and also the anatomical variations. So those who are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe now so that you will receive the everyday updates. So in this class, we start with the development of the alimentary system. Alimentary system, we will start with the development and we will see the development of the esophagus and stomach in this class. So the development of the alimentary system from the endoderm of the definitive or the secondary yolk sac. If you see this, so these are the layers of the germ disc, and this is the amniotic cavity and the yolk sac before the foldings of the embryo. So the foldings of the embryo have started, cephalic and the caudal foldings. So when the cephalic and caudal foldings occur, this yolk sac is withdrawn inside this so that indrawn part of the yolk sac forms the primitive gut. So from the endoderm of that yolk sac, this epithelium of the GIT is derived. So this extent and the parts of the primitive gut are the primitive gut extends in the median plane from the buccopharyngeal membrane at the cephalic end to the cloacal membrane at the caudal end. And it is divided into three parts: foregut, midgut, and the hindgut. So the foregut is the part which is contained within the cephalic folding of the embryo, and the communication between the foregut and the midgut will be called as anterior intestinal portal. And the part of the yolk sac which is contained in the tail fold of the embryo will be called as hindgut, and the junction between the midgut and the hindgut will be called as posterior intestinal portal. And the midgut is the part of the yolk sac which are contained within the lateral foldings of the embryo. So these are the three parts of the primitive gut: foregut, midgut, and the hindgut. So extend from the buccopharyngeal membrane at the cephalic end to the cloacal membrane at the caudal end. So these are the three parts of the primitive gut. So now in this class we will see start with the derivatives of the foregut. From the foregut, the derivatives of the foregut, if you see, the respiratory system is a derivative of a foregut. So this foregut, how it gives rise to this respiratory system is there appears the laryngotracheal groove. So that laryngotracheal groove deepens so that this laryngotracheal tube is separated from the foregut. So that now this foregut will be divided into prelaryngeal part and the postlaryngeal part of the foregut. So these are the two parts of the foregut: prelaryngeal part of the foregut, and this is the postlaryngeal part of the foregut, and this is the laryngotracheal tube which is separated by this laryngotracheal groove and by the septum. So this prelaryngeal part will give rise to the floor of the mouth and definitive pharynx, and the postlaryngeal part will give rise to the esophagus, stomach, first part of duodenum, second part of duodenum up to the opening of the bile duct. So these are the derivatives of the foregut. Apart from the laryngotracheal tube, other derivatives of the foregut are now mentioned in this. So in this postlaryngeal part, two endodermal buds also develop, liver including the biliary system, and the pancreas. So these are developing as buds from this postlaryngeal part. So now I will start with the development of the esophagus from the caudal margin of the laryngeal diverticulum to the proximal end of the fusiform dilatation of the stomach. At first it is short but elongates with the descent of the heart and caudal migration of the septum transversum. So between if this laryngotracheal groove and septum formation and the esophagus development, so this is the normal. It should separate from the foregut except at the laryngeal inlet. So if there are errors in this formation of the laryngotracheal groove and septum, various types of tracheoesophageal fistula are common. So these are the various types of tracheoesophageal fistula. So main topic of this today's class is the development of the stomach. By fourth week, if you see, it appears as the fusiform dilatation of the foregut. So this is the starting of the development of the stomach, fusiform dilatation of the foregut. So in this fusiform dilatation of the foregut, there form the greater and the lesser curvature. However, by the fifth week, the dorsal border of the stomach grows faster than the ventral border. So in the beginning of this formation of the stomach is having this, this is the ventral border and this is the dorsal border, and this is the left surface and that is the right surface. So it is in the beginning of the development of the stomach, it has two surfaces and two borders. So this is the ventral border and this is the dorsal border, and it is having two surfaces, right surface and the left surface. Initially it is placed in the midline, and this dorsal border grows rapidly than the ventral border, so that there is forms the rudimentary greater and lesser curvature. Then, so that because of the formation of this greater curvature, this pyloric part is pushed more ventrally, so that makes the ventral border concave. You see the ventral border of the stomach, it is suspended from the anterior body wall by the septum transversum, which is which is forming the ventral mesogastrium. So this is the ventral mesogastrium and this is the dorsal mesogastrium. Dorsal border of the stomach is attached to the body wall by the dorsal mesogastrium, which is a part of the dorsal mesentery of the primitive gut. So you can see the blood supply of the foregut from the dorsal aorta through this dorsal mesogastrium. So the stomach is now forming by the fifth week and have developed the greater and the lesser curvatures. And this pyloric part is pushed ventrally. So we have seen already this is the ventral border and this is the dorsal border. The ventral border is having the ventral mesogastrium, which is divided by the entrance of the hepatic bud. So this ventral mesogastrium is divided into two parts, falciform ligament and the lesser omentum. And this dorsal mesogastrium, in the dorsal mesogastrium, the spleen development will be taking place, so that this will be converted into gastrosplenic ligament and lieno-renal ligament. So these are the derivatives of the ventral and the dorsal mesogastrium. In detail we have covered. So the stomach has formed two curvatures now. So now it is 7th to 8th week. So the stomach carries out a 90-degree clockwise rotation around the longitudinal axis, so that its left side to face anterior and right side and the right surface becomes the posterior. This explains why the left vagus nerve supplies the anterosuperior surface and the right vagus supplies the posterior-inferior surface of the stomach. And there is one more rotation around the transverse axis also. So this caudal end of the stomach moves upward and to the right, and the cephalic end moves downward and to the left. That causes this curvatures of the stomach, and this pyloric part is coming more ventrally and downwards. So the stomach rotates around two axes, longitudinal axis and the transverse axis. So this is the axis of the transverse axis, and already we have seen the longitudinal axis. Why this stomach rotates? The factors for the rotation of the stomach may be as follows. Rapid enlargement of the right lobe of the liver and shifting of the spleen to the left side. The omental bursa extends to the left dorsal to the stomach and pushes the dorsal mesogastrium caudally beyond the stomach. So this omental bursa is developing to the dorsal part of the stomach. Otherwise, whether it is apparent rotation of the stomach due to the active growth process of the stomach, so that the dorsal mesogastrium gradually shifts to the left from the dorsal border until it reaches the adult position. So whether it is apparent, it is not real or due to the active growth process. So these are the explanations for the development rotation of the stomach around the clockwise direction, 90-degree rotation. What are the causes for this rotation? These are the explanations for that rotation. If you see the anomalies, congenital anomalies of the stomach, congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis is a congenital defect. So that in neuromuscular incoordination, circular muscle of the pyloric sphincter is hypertrophied, and this manifests between the 2 weeks and the 2 months of the postnatal life. And males or male children or male newborns are more frequent victims of this anomaly than the girls. So this is one of the congenital abnormalities of the stomach. So in this class we have covered the congenital abnormalities of the stomach also, and we have completed the development of we have started with the development of the alimentary system, and we have seen the foregut derivatives, and we started with the development of the esophagus and stomach. We have completed in this class. The remaining parts of the foregut derivatives we will see in the next class. So subscribe to the channel to continuously get the recent notifications and the updates, and we will continue with the foregut derivatives in the next class.